Oakwood Theme Park is one of been one of the best theme parks in Wales. Built back in 1987, when this park first opened, it only had a couple of attractions. However, just about 35 years later, it now has some of the best and most unique attractions in the country. However, where is this theme park located? Oakwood Theme Park is located in Pembrokeshire, Wales, and this wasn't the easiest part to get to. The reason why I say this is due to being located around an hour drive away from Swansea. This is the closest city to the park, and actually it's quite nice. However, in terms of the park itself, their main roller coaster is Megaphobia. Built back in 1996 by Custom Coaster International, this is one of only 7 wooden roller coasters left in the UK, and after nearly 35 rides in it, I can safely say that it's one of the best roller coasters in the country. However, if this is the case, if you're located towards the back of the train, the coaster can be quite rough. However, if you put this aside, it's still got a great first drop and almost some decent airtime. Something to point out is that it's also got some great trains. Right on the other side of the park is Speed No Limits, and even though Megaphobia is definitely the standout, this still is one of the best top 2s out there. The reason why I say this is due to having a great first drop and always some nice inversions. However, what really surprised me was its airtime. This is due to giving some of the best airtime in the country, and with it just been a great element. And even though the restraints can sometimes take away from the airtime, it didn't really affect me too much, and it still made for a great coaster. Right next door to Speed No Limits is Treetops, and I have to say this is definitely one of the better family coasters out there. Built back in 1989, this was the park's first roller coaster, and as much as it doesn't really give any airtime, it still makes for a fun coaster. It's got some great turns and almost some head chopper moments, and these are definitely some of the best in the country. However, something else to mention was that the coaster also has a nice setting. This is due to the coaster being located within the woods and also being surrounded by the countryside. Another great roller coaster at the park comes in the form of the Creepy Crawler. Built back in 2017 by Pimfari, this is one of the RC40 coasters, and as much as this counts as a thrill coaster, I'd place rate it more as a family coaster. However, even this is the case, it's still got a great first drop and always some decent turns. However, something to point out is that if you're located towards the back of the train, the coaster can be quite rough, and as much as it's not painful, it was definitely something to point out. However, if you put this aside, it's still a fun coaster. The last one goes to the park is a kids coaster and comes with the name of the Crocodile Coaster, and after my one ride in it, I think it's safe to say that it's definitely the weakest coaster at the park. However, if this is the case, it was still great to experience. To start off with, it had a nice queue line along with a decent station, and as much as the coaster wasn't anything to shout about, the train's more than made up for it. This is due to them having a nice zero car, along with them also being quite comfortable, and in terms of the layout itself, it still has some nice turns, along with the coaster giving 3 laps. However, besides the coasters, the park does also have some great attractions. Some of my favourites include the bobsleigh. Making its debut back in 1987, this was one of the park's opening day attractions, and I'll say that even if this is the case, it's actually one of my favourite rides at the park. This is due to having some nice turns along with the great head chopper moment. However, what really surprised me was its queue line. This is due to having some nice theming along with it also giving some great views. Overall, it's a fun ride and it's definitely something to experience. Another great ride at the park comes in the form of Waterfall, and I have to say that it's definitely one of the park's more unique attractions. The reason why I say this is due to you basically taking a seat on a plastic tray, and as much as it's quite uncommon, the ride will then take you down a drop, and I have to say that it's actually one of the steeper drops of the park. However, after this you'll then head through the splashdown, and after my only ride, I think it's safe to say that it's one of the most unique water rides out there. A more common attraction at the park comes in the form of the pirate ship, and as much as it wasn't anything to shout about, it was still a nice ride. It's got some decent heights and almost some nice views. However, what made this ride so great was that it actually had 2 different sequences. This would then allow you to either choose a higher swing or a lower swing, and I have said that this definitely improved the experience. Overall, it's a fun ride, but it's nothing to rush to. Right next door to the pirate ship is Snake River Falls, and this is definitely one of the best ones I've experienced. The reason why I say this is due to having 3 different versions, with the first one being Cobra, and I have said that it gave a nice sense of speed. Next up with the Jumping Slides, and even though they're quite common around the world, it still had a nice setting and always some decent views. However, my favourite was by far Python. This is due to it being a lot faster, along with it even giving a bit of airtime. The newest ride at the park comes with the name of Dizzy Disc, and despite not already having any theming, it was still a fun ride. This is due to it still giving some great spins, along with it also having some nice views over the park. Something else to point out was that it actually looked quite nice at sunset. The reason why I say this is due to the ride having tons of lights and also being located in the middle of the park. And as much as I didn't get to see it at night, I have to say that it still looked really nice. A more lesser known attraction in the park is Skull Rock, and out of all the dolphins I've experienced, this is definitely one of the weakest. This was mainly due to the ride cycle not being that long and also only having 1 drop. However, if you put this aside, it's still got some nice theming along with a nice indoor section, and I have to say this was definitely my favourite part of the ride. Overall, it's a fun attraction and it's still worth a try. The only dark ride at the park comes in the form of Spooky 3D, and I have to say that it's actually quite a unique dark ride. The reason why I say this is due to you having to wear some 3D glasses, and this definitely improves the experience. However, once the doors open, you'll then head through the layout, and I have to say that even though the ride's quite slow, the theming more than made up for it. This is due to having some nice models along with some decent jump scares. However, what really surprised me was its audio. This is due to it being some of the best in the park and also fitting in with the theme. One of the more insane flat rides is Tink's Flying School, and as much as it doesn't really sound a lot by the name, the ride was the complete opposite. This is due to you taking a seat on a car which only has a seat belt, and after this the ride will then take you through the layout. However, what made this ride so insane was that you actually got to control your own car, and as much as it's quite common around the world, it just brought this ride to the next level. And if it's a windy day, it makes it one of the best flat rides out there. One of the weaker flat rides is Witch's Brew, and the reason why I say this is due to the ride being quite common. However, even though that's the case, it still has some nice theming and always some decent views. But something else to point out is that unlike most of these attractions, you can only spin the car to the left, and as much as this weakened the experience, if you put this aside, it was still a decent attraction. The last ride at the park which I wanted to mention was the boating lake, and this is definitely one of the more unique attractions I've experienced. This is due to taking a seat on a 4-person boat before heading around a lake, and what made this ride so unique was that 2 of the 4 guests had to pedal. This made for a great experience and just a fun ride. However, what made this ride so great were the views. This is due to getting some great angles of Megaphobia along with the rest of the park. Overall, it's a fun ride and it's definitely something to experience. However, as much as Oakwood Theme Park has some great attractions, there wasn't really any entertainment, and this is the one area I feel like the park really needs to improve on. The reason why I say this is due to there not being any shows or even character interactions, but even that's the case, Oakwood Theme Park do also offer some events, and off the park website it looks like this is where you can find all the shows, and as much as it's great to see some of the entertainment of the events, I feel like it's definitely the park's main weakness. But in terms of other information to visit in the park, I'd best try arriving at the park at least 15 minutes for the advertised opening time. This is due to the car park being located around a 5-minute walk away from the park itself. However, if you'd rather use the park's transportation system, they do also offer a train, but once you get into the park itself you'll be greeted with vertigo, and on both my visits the staff will then ride it to open the attractions themselves, and even though it's quite unique, it was definitely a fun way to start off the day. And in terms of which attraction to head to first, on both my visits we decided to start off with a ride on Megaphobia. This meant that we got the first train of the day on the park's standout coaster. However, after this I'd personally recommend heading over to Speed No Limits. This is due to a likely having no way and also being the other standout attraction at the park. However, once you complete this, I'd personally recommend just making your way towards the front of the park. And something else to point out was that on both my visits, Oakwood Theme Park was actually really quiet, and I'm not sure whether it's usually like this. However, Speed No Limits had a 0-minute wait all day when only running one train, and I have to say that even though it was really quiet, the park still had a great atmosphere. Something else to mention was that unlike most parks, the restaurants never really had a queue, but in terms of the best places to eat, throughout my visits I've eaten both Woody's and also the Haunt, and I have to say that even though Woody's was quite nice, the Haunt was some of the best theme park food I've had. However, something else to point out was that on my most recent visit, it was raining for most of the day, and even though most of the major attractions stayed open, there were still some ride closures, and this is definitely not uncommon for the park. But even though this is the case, we still got most of the attractions we wanted to experience, and I have to say that Oakwood Theme Park are some of the best merchandise out there. This is due to them selling ride parts, and in terms of what ride parts you can get, on my most recent visit I got to purchase a Megaphobia restraint. However, even this is the case, you can also buy ride signs and even some wheels, and I have to say that the park definitely made a great decision with the merchandise. But in terms of how long you need to spend at the park, if you want to experience all 5 of the park's coasters, it should only take you around an hour and a half. However, if you'd like to experience more of their attractions, along with even getting some re-rides, I'd personally recommend a full day. However, as much as most parks don't let you re-ride, Oakwood Theme Park was the complete opposite. But what is my overall opinion on this park? Oakwood Theme Park is my personal favourite theme park in Wales. This is due to them having a great top 2, along with the park having some great atmosphere. However, as I previously mentioned, the only area that the park needs to improve on is their entertainment. But if you put this aside, it's still a great park, and I definitely recommend a visit down to Oakwood Theme Park. However, what's your opinion on the park? Make sure to leave any thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, I'll see you in the next one.